Welcome back to another edition of Components Breakdown. Today we're going to look at another game by Indie Boards and Cards that was just released called Triumvirate. This is the second edition printing of the game and has some new components and some new cards and artwork that was used for this printing. The game is a two-player card drafting trick-taking game that takes about 15 to 20 minutes to play the full 2 to 3 rounds that are required. So with that, let's open up the box and see what's new inside. The first thing everyone's going to notice, for those who had watched my original Haggis Components Breakdown, is that they're from the same publisher and they share the same box size specifications. They're both extremely small boxes. Where they differ, though, not only in their gameplay, obviously, but is what comes inside the boxes. In Haggis, it's primarily just cards that ships with the game. In Triumvirate, you actually get some wooden components and some scoring markers and whatnot. So let's open up Triumvirate and show you exactly what comes inside this. Now, as I had previously mentioned, this is the second edition printing of it. So the first thing you're going to see in here is a certificate saying that it is a second printing, the first printing of the second edition, and what number you received. Inside here there are 3 different rule books in 3 different languages, and I've already unfolded one for everybody to see. It's a very small rule book, very easy to understand the rules though, and we'll get into the mechanics here in just a moment. There is a scoring tableau, which is a thick cardboard stock, has linen paper on it, and you can see the linen finish in there. Very nicely done with some great artwork. This is used to place the senator markers when they get elected into the offices. We'll set that aside. And inside here is an insert with 2 different compartments. On the right hand side you're going to have your 27 cards that ship with the game, and we'll break these down in a moment as well as all of your game scoring markers. There is a dealer marker, which is green in here, and then there's the console markers, which are for each of the 3 different consuls, being Caesar, Cassus, and Pompey. So with that, let's break open the game and show you everything in a little more detail and give you an idea of how the gameplay works. So now I have all the components laid out on the table. What I'm going to do now is go over some basic gameplay mechanics and the theme and the overall objective of the game. Well, the theme obviously takes place in the Roman Empire, and each of the 2 players represents one of the leaders of the Roman noble houses. And there's obviously some strife going on in Rome, and one of the 3 counselors is going to be elected the new Roman emperor. And it's the job of each of these 2 players to politically maneuver each of these counselors into the Roman throne. Well, they're each represented by different colors. And Julius Caesar is red, Pompey is yellow, and Cassus is black. Now, the console markers are simply scoring markers, so none of these are used for gameplay mechanics themselves. And the object of the game is to maneuver specific counselors into the Roman throne. So, once 3 of these gets placed on the board, that player or that counselor has been elected the Roman emperor, and then points are tabulated and scored. So that's how these markers work. Now, there are scoring markers, and when you play the best of 3 games, once you win 1 game, it simply goes to 1 player. If another player wins another, it goes to their side, and then the 3rd player. So these are just scoring markers for the game itself. And then there is a first player marker, which is the green one. The cards are actually what drives the mechanics of the game themselves. And there's 3 different colors in here, as I said before, and each of those colors has 9 cards. And they're all the same. So the red deck is the same as the yellow deck, which is the same as the black deck. But how they're broken up is a little more interesting. So, looking at the actual cards themselves, you're going to notice that the 0 is a mob, and there's only 1 mob in the whole deck. The 1s, 2s, 4s, 6s, and 8s all have circles on them, and those represent senators, which are these right here. And the last ones are the legions, which are the 3s, the 5s, and the 7s. And these are your point cards, which are used for scoring purposes and for game-ending purposes. So the object of the game is to, as I said before, try to politically maneuver one of these 3 counselors into the Roman throne. So with that, let's actually set up a game and show you how it actually plays out. So now I have set up a two-player game, and I'm going to walk through some basic gameplay mechanics. I'm not going to get into the overall strategy of the game because, quite frankly, I've only played about a half dozen games of it, and I'm still trying to figure out all the nuances. And the main reason for that is that it's not a typical trick-taking game in which you're trying to win a specific hand. What you're trying to do is get a specific consular elected. So that took some, it took some time for me and my wife to wrap our brain around because it wasn't a simple concept that we were used to. So with that, let's start into the game itself. Now, I have the cards face up, but you're not going to have the cards face up for gameplay purposes, obviously. Each player is dealt 11 cards to their hand, and 5 are left face down. And these are to allow for some random chance to happen in the game that you won't know exactly which cards your opponent has and which cards are simply left into the deck itself. As I had mentioned earlier, there's 3 different suits of 9 different cards in each suit. Certain cards will trump other cards. For instance, the 0 card, the mob, will always trump another card of a different suit. So if someone plays the 8 of black and someone plays the red mob, the mob will always win unless it's of the same suit. So the object of the game is to win as many tricks as you can in 3 to 7 hands. So, say for instance, this player is leading off. They could play the 3 of red, and then the person on the other team on the other side has to play a red card if they have one. If they do not, they can play simply another card of another color with a higher number if they so wish. So say they play the 2. So the 3 will win, and red has 1 vote. Now the object is in each hand, a consular has to have 3 votes to be elected into the consul itself, or each senator has to have 3 votes. So on the next hand, 3 gets to lead again, which is this side, and they could lead with the 5. And again, this player has a 6 or a 7, so that's a second vote for Julius Caesar. But this time he won the hand because he has a higher card. On the last play, just for gameplay purposes, he would lead the 7 and he would lead the 8. So now Julius Caesar has been picked 3 times, and that gets one of these consul markers elected into the scoring tableau. This has to happen 3 times for Julius Caesar to win. Now, at the end of each of these hands, the players are allowed to take 1 card from their hand and place it face down on their side of the table. These are scoring points for the end of the game. Legions are the only ones that score in the game. Legions are the cards that have the legion pictures on them and with the square on the sides. And those are the 3s, the 5s, and the 7s. So each player is allowed to take 1 of their scoring, put it face down, and then all the cards that were used that round are simply shuffled back in with this deck, and they draw up again and repeat that process until one of the consulars becomes elected into the Roman throne. Once that is done, each player turns over all of their scoring cards and they look and see which consular got elected. So say for instance, black had 3 of these out here and got elected. He would have 7 black, he would only have 7 yellow, so the person over there would win one of the scoring markers. It's a little convoluted, it's a little strange, but it works. And it works perfectly because it requires some backwards thinking and some backwards strategy that you're not usually used to playing in a trick-taking game. And I love that. That's what I really enjoy about this game, is that it's so different than the rest of the things I'm used to playing. Like in Tichu, I'm so used to wanting to win. In this case, you kind of want to throw off your bad cards so you can actually get someone not elected. It's strange, but it's really nice. Now, since I do components, I'm going to go over the components briefly again. They're all nice, really thick wooden components. They're wonderfully painted. The paint jobs on all these match the cards, which is great. So the blacks match, the yellows match, and the reds match. Again, their card quality is just as good as the Haggis cards. They're really thick, beautiful artwork on the front and the back side. All the artwork, I know I've seen the original first printing, and this just trumps it big time. It's really well done for an small indie publisher. And so that's Triumvirate, and I really enjoy it, and I'm really glad I got it. So I hope everyone goes to their website and picks up a copy because it is now available for order.